What is going on, IVE Warriors? Is your boy Edward V, and today we're going to tackle the Dr. Jason Fung controversy. Stay tuned. Dr. Jason Fung just published an article yesterday stating that there is a lack of evidence for calories in versus calories out. There's a lack of evidence for calorie restriction for determining weight loss. Now, this has been Dr. Jason Fung's Achilles heel to a lot of people out there. Even in the intermittent fasting community, there are groups that do not like Dr. Jason Fung. Mind you, I do appreciate Dr. Jason Fung, and I do like Dr. Jason Fung, and I've listened to a lot of his, his analogies and his theories and his studies that he has done with diabetics regarding the intermittent fasting protocol, and I admire his information that he brings to the table when it comes to intermittent fasting. There are certain things that he has said that I have referenced in my videos. So I'm gonna go ahead and explain that concept and why it works so fast. And it was illustrated really well by a gentleman named Dr. Jason Fung in the past. So, but there was always this one thing that Dr. Jason Fung had that was very hard to swallow or cringeworthy, which is his view on caloric restriction. I believe in intermittent fasting, and I believe in intermittent fasting as the gold standard. But even if you don't believe in intermittent fasting as the gold standard, even if it's not the thing that you choose, a lot of people have this consensus that calories in versus calories out is the ultimate tool for you to lose weight or gain weight. But Dr. Jason Fung challenges that notion at every turn. Some people call Dr. Jason Fung crazy for thinking that caloric restriction does not equate to the control of weight loss or gain. But he puts up some interesting arguments. For example, he uses an analogy of a bar. He says that if a bar is crowded with people, and a lot of people come in and a lot of people come out, what does that really mean? If 26 people come in and 26 people come out, nothing is really happening. That analogy is very interesting to me, but doesn't really seem to tackle the notion of the calories in versus calories out in a human. Like a bar is a bar, but that doesn't equate to the energies that one needs and how one stores energies to then lose the weight or gain the weight, what have you, when you're doing calorie restriction or calorie surplus. But then he touches on a specific notion. He says that the caloric restriction protocol has never really truly had a conclusive study done or tested evidence that show that this actually works. He believes that because this is the world-renowned consensus, it doesn't get challenged. He states that every study that has been done, even the extensive one, 7-year studies, where the study took over 7 years to complete. This study was done with over 50,000 women, and they were randomized, and some were caloric restricted, others weren't. And they noticed that the group that was caloric restricted lost a lot of weight in the initial period, but after 6 to 12 months or so, it came into a steady halt and then also went back up. A lot of their weight was being regained. So over the course of 7 years, when it was all tallied, right at the end of it, they actually only lost 1/4 pound, not even 1 pound in 7 years. And that's somewhat troubling. And let me elaborate on what he feels is the reason for this. What he feels is that if you eat less calories, you will burn less calories, which is why it offsets it. So if you eat only 200 calories your body will only burn about 200 calories. If you eat 1,500 calories, your body will burn about 1,500 calories, or a percentage of that, which is a little bit more. So it's like maybe 60% of what you're consuming in calories your body will burn. So he's stating the fact that the more calories consume, the more you burn. Thus, you are offsetting the whole process. Now you have to understand how controversial this notion is. For him to basically shut out the entire science and all scientists that have equated weight loss and gain to calorie consumption is very, very brave of him, but also very, very eyebrow raising as well. Do I agree with Dr. Jason Fung's assumption that the caloric restriction model is actually not true? To be honest, I don't agree with him in that point. Right now, he makes an interesting argument as to what should we look into this. If we've had these studies that have come out that hasn't shown these elements to actually happen the way that they're supposed to happen, then something is wrong. And he tackles another study that was for diabetes, and it was another long-term study, 5 years, and the beginning BMI for that study was 34. The study itself was actually successful. It helped prevent diabetes within the subjects. But the problem is that their BMI was 34, and 5 years later, even under those caloric restrictions, their BMI was 34. So they lost no weight on average after that time period of 5 years. See, what my argument with that would be, I understand his frustration, and I know that he's fighting against the notion that calories in versus calories out is not the actual truth of weight loss or weight gain. But the problem is that maybe these patients or these subjects that are doing these studies for long terms, maybe they're not staying within the rhythm of the caloric restriction. And maybe the answer is actually, should you give them something that they can do for the entirety of their life? My push is always to do something that you can do forever. And when the thing that you're doing to lose weight or to maintain your weight requires you to have selected food, specific food groups, or specific actual foods like rice or something like that, and it just tells you exactly to eat these kind of things or this macronutrient or that macronutrient, that has a potential to fail, because then you will look out towards the other thing that you don't have, and the grass is always greener on the other side. And over time, and I think the period of 6 to 12 months is when one decides, hey, let me get a little bit of this then, or let me get a little bit of that. Then you go into this spiral where you're no longer eating the way you ate 6 months ago, and now calorie consumption has increased. I would have to see exactly how these people were studied and how they were scrutinized day by day for 5 years, but I doubt that they didn't have a leeway or a window to just, eat more, even though they said they were eating less. That's the only way I can rationalize how they may have gained weight. But the problem is that almost everyone does it. So maybe that's a psychological thing, that everyone at a certain point just gives up on their diet. And I think that that's something that Dr. Jason Fung should look at. Are people actually giving up their diet? And I know he pushes against that notion as well. If you read the article, he states, that that's always the argument, that these people are giving up on the diet, but maybe it's not the people, it's the diet. But if not by the calorie consumption, then how else would you measure weight loss? I understand that intermittent fasting hacks it using time, but what other measurements could we understand for weight loss? And if you do reduce calories and you do then initially lose weight, what's creating the plateau and the regain? I think that is done by people just getting very lax on their diet because it's so stringent. My advice is to stick with the intermittent fasting diet, not only because it allows you to lose weight easier, because you're eating your calories in a smaller window. But and of course all the health benefits, that goes without saying, but also it seems to be the most sustainable of all the diets. When every other diet you look at tells you to eat more meat and less carbs, or more carbs and less meat, or more fats and protein and less carbs, or make sure you're eating this specific fish and that, those things can become tiresome after a while. And how sustainable can that be when intermittent fasting just simply tells you, hey, don't eat until this time and then go ahead and fast after that, but doesn't point at a specific food group, so it lets you have that flexibility. I think that's what's the most important thing. What can you do for the long term? So this is Dr. Jason Fung's biggest controversy when it comes to his thesis and his theories on weight loss. However, that by no means am I putting down Dr. Jason Fung, as he is one of the people that I even look up to when it comes to intermittent fasting information. But this has always been a controversial topic of his, is his reluctance to see calorie consumption, calorie restriction, calorie surplus as how one loses weight or gains weight. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the whole notion, the whole belief of caloric restriction is just false, that we've just been told this via a theory, but none of the studies actually prove it? Or do you think that the patients or the subjects are just losing interest in their diet, and then it is all coming back, and at the end of the day, when it's 5 years later, they just say, we did the diet that you told us to do, it just didn't work? Do you think that's more likely? Let me know in the comments section, guys. I will really appreciate your input. I really want to know what you guys have to say about this. Also, I have the link of the actual published article that was published on the 26th of May in the description as well. Hopefully you guys can take a look at that, and you can see everything he writes about it. You can tell he's really attacking the industry, the scientific industry when it comes to this. He seems almost agitated in his article. So take a look at that for an interesting read. It's a really good read. And of course, thank you for watching, guys. If you have any other questions to any other videos that I've had in the past, I will have one here, and of course my subscribe button will be right down there. You can click either one of them and you will make me a happy camper. Thank you, guys, and I will see you on Wednesday. Have a good one. Peace.